You're a self-taught pianist. You start to learn to play this beautiful instrument, but you come across some huge roadblocks soon. You realize music theory is hard to understand, reading sheet music is painful, and you wonder if your playing habits are even correct, and you're afraid of building bad habits that you fear will be hard to undo later on. Hey, I'm Jazer, piano teacher. I've played this piano for over 20 years, and today I want to share with you 5 common knowledge gaps of self-taught pianists. There are pros and cons to both formalized lessons and also self-teaching. I myself have done a fair share of both of these. My intention today is to share with you, as a piano instructor, what are some of the common problems I see, so that this can help you to better plan your piano learning journey, regardless of whether you self-teach or whether you take lessons. Knowledge gap number 1 is music theory. This has got to be one of the bigger ones that I come across. Understanding the underlying principles of music, such as chords and key signatures and time signatures, chord progressions, scales, arpeggios. Knowing how all of this stuff connects together, this is something that many self-taught pianists don't currently have. I'm not going to cover any music theory principles in this video, but I do want to try to inspire you to start to take music theory seriously. Let's say a really simple tune here, Mozart K545 Sonata in C major. So for example, just in the left hand, all I see are chords and patterns rather than individual notes. So for example, this is a C chord, G7 chord, C chord, F chord, C chord, G chord, C chord. I realize this is a common theme among many self-taught pianists that I come across with, is that when they learn music, they see very individual notes rather than groups and patterns. The ability to see patterns and groupings is not going to happen overnight. Here's my golden nugget thought for you self-taught pianists out there who want to have this feeling of understanding what you're playing. If you want to understand music or music theory, you cannot just play 3 or 4 songs. You need to play hundreds. So let's say if you're someone that, just likes to play a couple of songs, have a couple of pieces in your hand, such as River Flows New, or you play Furlies, or maybe Moonlight Sonata. Now, beautiful pieces. I suggest everyone to go and learn these ones. But what I'm trying to share with you in this video is that you can't just play, let's say, 3, 4, 5 songs and possibly understand music theory. You need to play and study way more. This is a reflection I've had over the past year more significantly, is that one of the greatest difference between an amateur pianist and an intermediate pianist and an advanced pianist is not the amount of hours they played, it's not the pieces they play. The main differentiating factor between these 3 groups is the amount of pieces they have studied and play. So let's say the beginner pianist can play, let's say, around 10 songs or pieces, the intermediate around 50, and the advanced more than 100. 100, 200, 300, maybe thousands. This is something I've come to realize even within myself. So I see myself both as an instructor, but also a student as well. Over my years of playing, I learn more and more about music. When I start learning, let's say, this Mozart Sonata, it was all about sight reading and playing the notes. But it wasn't until, let's say, the 6th or the 7th or the 8th Mozart Sonata that I sight read and studied that I truly understood some principles, such as, the chord progressions, such as form. So I just want to advocate very quickly in this video that you can't possibly understand music theory or music in general when you only play 3, 4, or 5 songs. You got to do way more. I'm actually coming up with a sight reading course soon, so please stay tuned to that. If you also want some resources to help you get started on understanding sheet music, please check the description below for some theory books that I recommend you to get started on. Common knowledge gap number 2 is the ability to read sheet music or sight read. I find a lot of self-taught pianists usually come to me and they're really good at one of 2 things. They're either really good at memorizing the music, so they read the music once and they just try to commit it to memory straight away so they don't have to look again. Or they're really good at playing by ear. So they read the sheet music once, they commit that to their listening or oral memory so that they don't have to read the sheet music again. Now, I'm completely guilty of this. When I first started learning the piano, I hated sight reading. I always played by ear or memorized. As I grew and matured in my piano playing journey, I realized how important sight reading was. The ability to just pull out any music these days and kind of be able to make it out, have a few more practice, and basically master it within a couple of days or weeks. is such a godsend. I wish I prioritized sight reading way earlier in my piano learning journey. So for the self-taught pianists out there, here's a tip for you that will really help with your sight reading. Read 10 easy versions of sheet music that you know the tunes of. So I'm pulling this from MuseScore. This is Silent Night, an easy version by Cody Weinman. Thank you so much. If you go and read 10, 20, or 30 of these easy versions of tunes you already know, you'll start to marry your ear with your sight. What I mean is, if you already know the tune of Silent Night, da 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 dum, da 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 dum, by reading it, you will learn, oh, this is what it looks like visually on sheet music. Notice the steps, notice the skips, and notice the rhythmic patterns. So for example, this first line. This part is a step. Step up, down, and a skip. And also, even through these first two measures, I learned something rhythmic as well. So, bum, 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 bum. So we first have a dotted quarter note, an eighth note, a quarter note, and then with a dotted half note. So I'm learning steps, I'm learning skips, I'm also learning the rhythmic values of these things. Thing is, you probably already know many melodies. So go and try to sight read things that you already know to try to bridge and learn and marry your visuals with your ear. Common knowledge gap number 3 is how to practice. One of my main messages in this YouTube channel is effective piano practice. I think this really hits home for me because I really regret some of my poor practicing habits in the past, and I really want to help you to not practice the way I did before. Some effective practice strategies include chunking and practicing in small sections. So for example, do little parts. Never ever play through. You want to section out small bits and really hone them so that they're perfect before you move on. You want to do it at a speed where your brain can really comprehend what's going on and coordinate what you actually need to coordinate. You probably want to do hand separate practice as well. Make sure the right hand is good. Make sure the left hand is good before you put them together. If you want an in-depth tutorial on how I practice piano to learn pieces within days or even just 1 or 2 weeks rather than months, please click on this video here. Knowledge gap number 4 is proper piano technique. Without formal instruction, self-taught pianists can sometimes have incorrect technique, whether that's how your wrists are moving, how your arm are moving, perhaps it's tension. This can lead to discomfort, injury, or just technical limitations later on. And it's really hard to undo these bad habits. Just some really quick tips here. Whenever you're playing, if you feel tension, you need to stop, okay? Something is going wrong if you ever feel tension. Some things I'll recommend also is low wrist. Also try to keep your elbow around the same length as where the piano level is. So not too high, not too low, but just around like a straight line of where the piano level is. And try to make sure your pinky isn't always flying up. It's staying relaxed like this, rather than like this. Coordination of both your hands is a very unique thing about learning to play the piano that can cause a lot of problems if you jump ahead and play too difficult pieces at the start. If you're someone that's starting out to play the piano and you can't seem to coordinate two hands, you need to check out my hand coordination bootcamp by clicking here. I provide a step-by-step series of exercises to help you coordinate your fumbly hands. I'm continually going to update this course over time. Make sure you get it while it's still on discount. Knowledge gap number 5 is repertoire expansion. Lots of self-taught pianists, I find, have a narrower exposure to the music that is out there. They often stick to very familiar genres or composers, and this is not a bad thing. As long as you're happy playing the pieces, you do you. But I think one potential danger of not knowing many pieces and where to go from next is the problem of skipping too many kind of basic steps before playing all the hard pieces. So for example, if someone were to take lessons with me, I often plan their program in such a way that it's very scaffolded. So whatever they play in day one, I would always give them just something a little bit harder, each time, and kind of like before they know it, they're already playing something hard after about 2 or 3 years of just doing this. And something that once was very hard to them, let's say 2 years ago, would not have been hard at this later point because all the pieces that were given to them were scaffolded so well. A potential danger of a self-taught pianist is because I think you don't have this ability to kind of conclusively say, oh, this piece is a good next step for me, or this piece is too difficult for me, because you don't have that knowledge. Potentially sometimes you're skipping too much and you're playing pieces that are just a tad out of your reach. That for me as an instructor, when I see you work on these pieces, isn't quite worth your time. They're easier pieces that you should be tackling first to broaden your skills and to work on some of the basic things before you tackle something that's a little bit harder. So potentially for this reason, it is helpful to go and seek out a teacher just to get a second opinion on what your program is like, what pieces you should play next. We've come to the end of this video. Are you a self-taught pianist? If you are, let me know if you agree or disagree with these points. Let me know what your other problems are in the comments below. Check out my course, the Hand Coordination Bootcamp, if you are a piano beginner and you're having some trouble coordinating your hands. Catch you in the next piano tutorial, guys.